All y'all wiggle here. This is part two. So you were saying why faith-based communities don't work.
Yeah, I think that I would prefer to be a part of a value-based community as opposed to a faith-based community, because what we believe, if we're growing, it it, it should change because we all haven't arrived. We're not like whatever we believe isn't necessarily 100% accurate. And so if that's the case, then there has to be room for growth. Um, so anyway, that's why I don't think faith-based communities really can work. Not over the long haul. It's just too limiting, and you keep moving and making a lot of noise.
Me.
Okay, so what I do think is a better alternative are value-based communities. Um, Now, I will mention you said something about okay. You said some he said something about truth-based versus value-based, and we have tried that route as well. We tried to congregate with other people or connect with other people who agreed on what we considered to be true. And we were a lot more, it was great because we were able to discuss things, and everybody was interested in the circles that we were at. They were interested in the truth. And so we were all pursuing truth. And so we would talk about truth, and we agree or disagree or explore new ideas. And it was just, yeah, cool. But ultimately, all it ended up being is just this thought process of talking about what we think is true and how does that play out in life. And that was not enough, in my opinion, to be in community with people, because not everybody shared the same views, say, on life, or didn't share the same views on what is right and wrong, and things like that. So it, truth was not enough of a unifying factor, because I mean, just looking at online, because that's where we kind of ended up going when we left the church, and we were talking about what we were learning, and wanting to share that with other people, to have conversation, to bounce the ideas off other people, hear what other people were thinking. We didn't have anybody local to do it, so we went online and started doing it, and then we found ourselves in naturally in a truth pursuing community where with other people like that. And so this is why I'm saying what I'm saying, why I've come to realize that that's not enough, because even within the truth seeking communities, you've got divisions, you've got people, well, I believe this and this is what the truth, and then it's still.
Well, as you seek the truth, you may find disagreements, and that's not really what's important. The most important thing about being online is that a really truth-based community?
Well, what I found was a benefit in being online with our experience was that you found other like-minded people. And that was very good for stimulating mental growth, and it was also emotionally supportive because now you're able to express yourself. And yes, you were met up with resistance, and you had, you got tougher skin, or you didn't. In our case, I felt like we got tougher skin. Um, and so there was positive things that came out of that. But at the end of the day, it wasn't enough. It was just it was a mental exercise, and you might have felt good. You felt like you belonged somewhere. But when it came to your day-to-day living,
As the microphone
distracting.
as the microphone slowly fades away.
Okay. Um, when it came to your day-to-day living, online is online. You're not living online. I mean, we were to a degree because we were doing our conducting business online, but that was it. We were also trying to develop a homestead. Okay, you really need to stop, my darling. Oh my goodness. Um,
Not much of a grip. Online.
so anyway, I just totally lost my train of thought. So many distractions. Okay, so a truth-based community, when we were operating online, it was good. It served a purpose, and I'm glad that we went through what we went through. It has shaped who we are, and we've learned a lot. But at the end of the day, that's virtual reality. That's not real. It's not real. And in our case, we have a homestead, and we are trying to develop this homestead, and it takes work to have to do all this, and we were by ourselves. And eventually, we ended up opting to move away from being online so much and trying to develop relationship in the real world with people around us. And it was challenging. Of course, we still ran into the same problems with everybody's going to church and we're not going to church. And I wasn't willing to, I couldn't go back to church after all that I had learned and how much I've changed internally. It's like fingernails on a chalkboard to sit in a church service and not be able to express what I express myself, honestly. And so I just couldn't be a part of that. So what do we do? And we had our challenges of trying to, we went to a new environment where there was all new people. Nobody knew us. We didn't have any, nobody knew anything about our history. They didn't know any, we were just completely new, and it was a new environment and a fresh start. But then we were struggling because if we truly expressed what we were really thinking in a mixed crowd, we were like alien to other people because we didn't believe the same things that most people believed. And it was hard. It was like, how do you connect with other human beings when you can't freely? Well, all of this happened when we moved to this other community. It was like 6 months before 2020 blew up. And when 2020 blew up and they started mandating masks and telling people they had to self-quarantine, that was like a game changer for everybody. And that pushed us back to our homestead, where it's like, okay, well, we can't be out where other people, no one else is going to be out. We might as well go back to being where we were on our homestead. And we did that. But then it just brought really to light or kind of made it very clear the struggles that we had been facing for over a decade was this idea of a mask and a muzzle. And you had to wear this mask or muzzle in order to associate within a community of people.
So a value-based community will not try to muzzle you.
Correct.
And I wanted to go back to the online community with all the benefits.
Mm-hmm.
The shortcomings were that is it really a truth-based community? I think that you could be knowledge-based and you're seeking knowledge, and then it only goes so far. You're just kicking around knowledge, but you're not getting into the wisdom of where the knowledge is applied to life.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's hard to get into the wisdom of the truth
Mm-hmm.
when you're all scattered about and it ends up being more of a superficial love fest again.
Mm-hmm.
You're just all agreeing with each other at some point, and it's like, well,
I think another challenge with being online is it's also very limiting. You talk about what you want to talk about, and it's only one facet, and it is like wearing a mask. It's very limiting in your communication. You can only, people can't read your tone of keyboard, and it's just, so just an online community generally has its limitations. So it is kind of like wearing a mask to a degree, in trying to connect with people online. But, we've got video and you can, see expression, it's better. It's getting better than just typing in a discussion forum or whatever, but it's not the same as a real life experience.
So why are we talking about value-based communities? Why are we having this compare and contrast here?
Well, you've been talking recently about intentional communities, and I mean, not just recently, we always talk about this, but in forming an intentional community, what the idea behind a community is that there needs to be some kind of unifying factor for it to be a community. And I think a natural community are people that are just around you, physically around you. That is a natural community. But to get people to work together and cooperate with one another, there needs to be some kind of commonality. And when we talk about, well, we want to have people come around us, well, what kind of people do we want around us? Well, I want people that are living in the real world that accept truth as truth. And, you know, it doesn't do any good hanging out with people that don't face reality when you're trying to face reality. So truth matters.
So you're starting a truth cult.
Well, I'm not dictating what is true. I may share what I understand to be true, but I want to be around other people who want to know what's true. They don't necessarily have to agree with me, but if they're true to their own value system and that they want to know the truth, then they ought to be open to the idea that they haven't arrived yet and there's something else to be learned.
So it's not going to be somebody with the truth showing up telling you what the truth is.
Right.
Without question.
No, it shouldn't be.
And you're not going to be that.
I'm not interested in being that, because if you really value truth, then it doesn't matter what we believe. It's the truth that we're trying to get to. So I recognize that even though I've come to understand and I've shed things that I know are not true, I realize that I still have more to learn. So it's not about me being right, and it's not about me, sharing what I believe with everybody and get everybody to believe the same thing I do. It's
So in this value-based community, is there any other values core central to that besides the truth, or is there other aspects that you're
right, like
wanting to discuss?
One of the things that I was saying was truth. Another was life, having a value for life, because honestly, I believe that, in my view, life is about perpetual life, and we're either building and growing and perpetuating life, or we're destroying and
A life affirming, or not.
Yeah. And that's an important value, because I don't want to be around people. I don't want my kids around other people that are destructive, because I want my kids to live long and well and be happy in life. I want to be happy in life, but I want my kids that. And in order for that to happen, I want them to be associated with other people who want their kids to live long and be happy. So that's a big reason. So life affirming is very important. So
let me really cause trouble here.
Okay.
um,
I wish he was on screen too, don't you? Anyway, go ahead.
Our faith-based, I'm just the interviewer here. Are faith-based communities harmful?
Well, it depends. I mean, harmful in one way. I heard somebody say that, well, a good thing about faith-based communities, if they're all, not doing bad things, then they're being distracted from being destructive. But it's like, yeah, but the fact that they're not participating in the greater world and doing good things and avoiding evil things, then it is kind of destructive, because they're not participating. They're in their own little clique doing their own little thing.
It's not an inclusive community. It's not meeting people where they're at. It's dictating where people need to be. And it's always going to be harmful to the local community, because it is a dividing factor.
It's cliquish.
It's not a unifying factor.
Mm-hmm.
And for a community, you need to have a unifying factor, and you need to have more latitude.
Yeah, I think.
I'm trying to contrast between faith and value-based.
Well, the problem that I see is, in order for us to live, we need other people. If you're really going to live well and live long, we need other people. And
That is so quick.
yeah, okay, he's just pointing out the time to me. So that's 15 minutes.
Finish your thought, please.
So the whole idea behind all of this is that we need community. We recognize the need for community. And in order to have community, you need people. And in order to have people, you have to have a reason for people to come together.
You have to have common values, common goals,
Right.
common worldview, or at some point there's no lines. You have to. There are some boundaries are good.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I don't know if that's where you're going. You're saying we need community. Absolutely.
What he was saying was the idea of maybe churches or whatever were divisive. If it's harmful, if it is harmful in a way, and it is harmful because it is dividing whatever number of people you have to work with. If something is dividing that, taking a portion of those people away and not allowing or not permitting that portion to contribute to other portions.
Real life.
Yeah, it's destructive because, like, for example, in our case, and this, I'll stop with this, bring this part to an end, but in our case, when we weren't going to church anymore, we were alone. And we were alone for over a decade. And all that time, we didn't have anybody reach out to us. There was nobody knocking on our door saying, would you like to come to church with us? Like, nobody reached out to us. We were alone. And
you're being punished for not thinking right.
Well, it's not even a matter of that.
No,
what I'm saying is, I'm not talking about the people that went to our church. I'm talking about people in general don't typically reach out to their neighbor. I mean, nobody reached out to us.
About just the community, like
exactly the way our society is people are not reaching out to their neighbors unless the power goes out and you can't get anywhere and you need a ride or something. Otherwise, nobody's talking to each other normally. Otherwise, you all have everybody has their own communities that they're a part of, and that's who they turn to when they need help. Well, when you're ousted from a community like that, in our case, we worked from home. We homeschooled our kids. We were not a part of a church anymore. And we don't have a town square where we go shopping at the same place as everybody else in our local area. So we didn't have any people around us. And nobody, even though we were here, we're in a prominent place. People drive by. There's obviously life going on here.
In a general sense, it's not just about us, though. There is an epidemic of loneliness.
Well,
there is a point to what you're saying.
Yes.
So, would you like to pick it up there?
Sure, that's fine.
I'm not. Where are we going to pick it up?
The need for community.
Yes.
And just carrying on with the value-based. Why value-based community? The kind of things that are important.
I really make things hard, don't I?
Yes, he does.
Drama. So, please come back for part 3. Thank you, guys. Carrie and Wiggle. Do you want to say anything, dear?
No.
Besides,
I want to be positive. Thank you for watching.